Grandma's on the floor right now. Auntie's on the floor right now.
Susan, I appreciate you being here. We have Dr. Terry Smith, who's ready for us as well, and he is going to share with us how to help women move through fear to do the things they need to do, to live in their purpose, and to be financially comfortable. So thank you for being here, James. Thank you for that. Dr. Terry Smith, are you on the call?
Yes. Wow. I just love hearing James. I just stepped into hearing him. Wow.
I know he's something else, isn't he?
Incredible. Starting with those children with Monopoly. I played Monopoly when I was 7 to 9. And one of my goals when I got 65 was have my house paid for, everything paid for, and have no debt, no credit card. But I sought out like Ramsey, and there were other financial people just to help me. And of course, what I've done is I've turned it over to my wife and let her be the financial manager. And she does a good job. So anyway, I love that, James. Thank you for that.
So I want to introduce you, Terry. Terry and I have been good friends for a long time. I serve on his board. And what I appreciate about Terry, we always seem to have these disagreements periodically, or maybe once a year. And when I say, Terry, your nonprofit is a business, and we have to make sure that there's enough financially. We go back through it over and over again. He's like, God will provide. I'm like, Terry, we have to make sure there's enough money in the coffers. So I appreciate that about Terry. He appreciates my point of view. He's a very, very smart man. He's has 2 masters and a doctorate. Yet he has a profound and an inordinate amount of compassion and empathy for people. And what I see with Terry is that he doesn't judge people based on wealth. He doesn't judge people based on appearance. He treats everyone the same. And there's very few people that I can say that do that, but he's actually one of them. And in fact, Terry, you've been working with Dave Ramsey's group for a while. And what have you learned from working with single women whose financial situation changes? And how do you help them push through fears to take care of themselves?
Oh, you're
Terry?
on mute, Terry.
Terry?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can now.
Okay. You know, I have a question, and I have lots of questions, but I've got 13 grandchildren, and I just visited my 23-year-old grandson in North Carolina who's finished college. And the question how do you build a life that flourishes? So that's the question that we came up with. And I was looking for a way to have the conversation. You know, if you meet somebody, you got to have a rapport. And I was trying to move from the old grandfather who's going to always give advice to speak man to man with my grandson. So I came up with the question that I want to talk man to. How do you build a life that flourishes? So, but you know, to your question about women, I've had the privilege of meeting some of them marvelous women, and many of them have gone through divorce. They're now on their own. And I just remember what I do with a person is I listen to their stories. I want to hear, and so I will map a person's story. Over about 40 years, I've developed this tool called the Core Story, which you can go on my website, coachinglifematters.org. And the book is Your Core Story, how to unlock the treasures in the human heart. And a lot of people don't know the treasure that they are. So in mapping their stories generationally over 3 generations, there's an ancient proverb that says, though it costs all you have, get understanding. So my goal when I meet, and particularly with women that have been traumatized, and by the way, we all know that stress and trauma right now is sitting on the frontier right now of our society. But pause for an hour or so and someone just listens. And my goal is to listen and understand their story. And when I map their story, what happens is they see their greatness. it's so important for a human being to know. My philosophy is there's nothing in the world more important than a human being. And so over my 62 years of quest to figure out how to build a meaningful life, came from a broken family. And so I wanted to know, how am I going to build a life that works, that where my children don't have to experience what I went through, which was hell, divorce and abandonment and all that stuff. And what I've found is that human beings are greater than any pain. There's no pain, there's no suffering, there's no trauma that a human being cannot overcome. And I help people find that greatness in their own story, not something out there. You're going to be great out there, but you're already great. You're already marvelous. You're already beautiful and have immeasurable value. So my goal is to start with understanding the story. And I lead them to name their 12-year-old beliefs around security, around significance, and around power and control. So every child, every human being, by the time they're 12, makes 3 decisions about where meaning in life is. 1 around security and survival, 2 around affection and esteem, and 3 around power and control. That's the head, heart, and gut. So I lead people to understand when they get under stress, who takes over. Well, we all know when you get under stress, it doesn't matter what you know, you're going to do what you believe. You're going to do what you believe. You're going to do what helped you navigate that childhood. And whether it was a good home or a bad home, every person makes 3 decisions by the time they're 12 around security, around significance, and power and control. And in listening to them, I will say, look at your story. It's mapped on the board. It's visual, it's cognitive, and it's experiential. Complete this sentence. What I figured out that I need to do to survive or be secure is, and they name it. Today I did a story and the person said work. Some people say hide, depending on, or be perfect, or be good. And so they'll name those beliefs, what I need to do to be valued, to be seen, perform to please, achieve, look good, be smart, be the best, or power and control, what I do to control the way people look at me. So they name those beliefs, that's understanding. And then I have them put their arm around themselves visually, picture your 12-year-old sitting next to you and say, now, tell your 12-year-old what your wound was. I was rejected, bullied in school, abused, whatever. And so their core wound was I was abandoned or rejected or an outcast. And then I'd say, now let's go a little deeper. Let's name the lie. What's the lie down in your gut? Now, this is where the secret is in helping, getting alongside people. What is the core lie? And here's what I hear. I'm not good enough. I'm less than. I don't matter. I'm worthless. No room for failure. No room for failure. They got to be perfect. And so in naming that core lie, it uncovers the real power source. What drives those external beliefs, be good, be smart, be pretty, be the best, hide, be funny. People hide behind those and they keep doing external things to take care of an internal problem. And so now I come down to the core truth. I say, what's the core truth about you? And so I give them 5 choices. I have immeasurable value. I'm loved. I'm not alone. I'm forgiven. I'm a gift. Now pick one of those. And if you don't pick those, then pick one is equally good. And so many times when I do this in prison with, I had a group of women in prison, was called the Academy of the Wild Ones. And we mapped their stories in front of each other. And I'll never forget, one young lady came up and she'd put, I am of immeasurable value. She said, where did you get that? And I just said, that's a great question. We can talk about that. I don't try to fix people. Don't try to change them. What I want them to see, you can figure it out. You can figure it out because you got a brain and you get to choose and you have a will. Everybody has these gifts. Everybody gets to choose. Everybody's got a brain and everybody can act. And so the real secret is when the person decides I'm responsible for my life. They stop blaming, they stop being the victim and says, I'm gonna get up and fight. So what I do is try to give them the tools to fight, and they must learn to fight for themselves and decide to care about themselves because they're valuable just because they're a human being. So that's how I operate. So if with the women, it's well as with men, people are traumatized, and you can stay a victim, or you can be the persecutor, or you can be the rescuer. Well, we don't want to be the victim. We don't want to persecute anybody, and we can't rescue everybody, but we can help people understand their greatness. That's where it begins, whether it's male or female. Now, until a person takes responsibility for their life, they don't even know what questions to ask. And we're living in a culture where it's blame. It's the blame game. And so anyway, that's how I operate. I love it. I'm 81. I feel like I'm just beginning. My 70s were the best years. Lael and I argue about stuff, but that's good to have an argument. I could be wrong. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be right. Something you said, James, that's triggered me. And I wrote this down. We tend in this generation to teach people that absence of failure is success. Well, that's just the opposite. The best thing I've taught my children how to do is how to fail and be okay.
Yeah.
Until we learn to love ourselves, accept ourselves. And that's tough when your agenda is work hard, be the best, be smart, be perfect. And that 12-year will kick your rear end all over the place, all the time, until you stop and say, what do I really want? And so with my grandson, I said, what do you really want, Wallace? And what does it take to build a life that flourishes? And so you got a brain, you can think, you got choices. And so you get people. I've learned if you give people safety, where they feel safe with you, good conversation, time, good information, and that good conversation, people can figure it out. Most people in America don't even have one friend, not one. So what I do is when I map their story, it's the first time somebody has ever really listened to them tell their story. And they say, I told you something I've never told anybody in my life. And I wasn't probing, James. I was just saying, who's your mama? Who's your daddy? Who's your granddaddy? Today I did a story and said, my older brother committed suicide at 55. Everybody's got the horse thieves, the suicides, and what am I going to do with my life? So my goal is to help people see their greatness. Now, a leader has to have three things. Number one, he guides by influence. And number two, character. And number three, competence. You need those three things. And we all start out with unconsciously incompetence. You know that unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence. Then we got conscious competence. And then we've got unconscious competence. That's a transformation process. So I know I've said a mouthful, but I love what I do. I meet one-on-one. I do groups. I go to the prisons. I work with PTSD, people in trauma. When they get their story and they see how great they are, then something triggers inside. I can make it. Not only can you make it, you can flourish, but they're fundamentals. They're fundamentals, just like in the financial world. I went to Ramsey. I've done the other things. Charlotte does the finances. I do the people. We do marriage seminars and stuff. But one other thing I want to tell you about. This is people come to me for marriage counseling. I said, I don't do marriage counseling. It doesn't work. What works is you own you and you own you, and I can coach you how to be friends. And what's the definition of friendship? This is my definition of friendship. A friend's always glad to see you and has no immediate plans for your improvement. Listen, people want to live great, but they need to have conversation with somebody who is who they are, who they say they are. They're competent, and they've got character. They do what they say. So
I remember, Terry, remember that time I first met you? I heard you speak somewhere and you were talking about a marriage retreat, and I went up to you. You didn't know me. And I said, Dr. Smith, I want to go to your marriage retreat. to learn how to be a better wife for someone else, not my husband, but some other husband in the future. I don't want to take Ben, because Ben and I had it pretty rough after we were first married that first year or two. And you said, Lael, you do you, let Ben come. You don't have to speak to him. So actually I took Ben on the retreat. I didn't speak to him. And that was one of the first times in my life I was actually working on me and my spirituality and claiming my accountability for who I was. And Ben and I have a beautiful marriage, but we started off with you telling me, let Ben come to the retreat and you work on you.